Hello, I'm Valentin Mandace from Historic Houses of Romania, Casa d'Epoca, and I would like to speak about the demise of the Neo-Romanian style, the end of the Neo-Romanian style architecture as a kind of cultural movement, artistic current, which has happened in the late 1940s, once the kingdom was abolished by a communist-led coup in December 1947, and a new regime came over with an entirely different architectural agenda from the previous one, which favorized the Neo-Romanian style, the national style of Romania, with new needs, new objectives, and slowly, when I say slowly, because the style went into the countryside, into the vernacular, died, and was quite forgotten, resurrected in a way in the mind of some people in the post-communist era, in the wild capitalism, and some people with money are starting again to build in Neo-Romanian style, but not having the philosophical knowledge background of their forefathers. They basically build it by ear, and even the designers, the architects who designed those houses do not know very much about the Neo-Romanian style. But nevertheless, our subject today is its demise, its death. What comes into my mind when I want to speak about this subject is a particular moment during my studies at the London School of Economics when I did my master's degree in Russian and post-Soviet studies. I remember for one of the seminars we had to read an article titled "We Can't Go On Living Like This." It was about the trials and tribulation of the Gorbachev couple, Mikhail and Raisa Gorbachevs, discussing in private and also from the memoirs of Gorbachev, in which they were thinking about the difficulties of the Soviet Union in the 1970s. The economy was falling behind the West. They couldn't keep the pace with the new IT industry, with the microchips. The people living in poverty. The Afghanistan war was really hurting the country, the empire, the Soviet Empire. So something had to be done, something to clean break and to clean the slate, to start anew again. That comes to me into my mind with the Neo-Romanian style in 1947. Like the myth of a system, of an empire, the Neo-Romanian style was victim of three folds, three directions, put it in a kind of threefold direction. One was politics. Neo-Romanian style is a political style, is the reflection of the national identity in the architecture. In other words, nationalism reflected in architecture, politics, which wasn't favorized after 1947 in Stalinism, only later on, but it was already forgotten, the Neo-Romanian style, in the time of Ceausescu. Economics, the world and Romania in particular was on its knees. It had to recover after the war, to industrialize, to bring in workers in towns from the countryside for the new factories, to house them. The Neo-Romanian style, it's a ornate, heavy, order-heavy architecture, expensive one, which do not go with this kind of agendas. And then fashions. As communism was out of fashion, or nationalism was out of fashion, people were in a way tired of Neo-Romanian, and that thing was noticeable already in the 1930s when the Neo-Romanian style went into expression crisis because of the new fashions of Art Deco and modernism in the 1930s, and it was nearly dying because of that. People liked Hollywood movies, liked the new kind of designs which they were able to see in Germany or France. And the Neo-Romanian style had to synthesize with the new forms in order to survive stylistically as an expression. And that is the late Neo-Romanian, what I call myself, late Neo-Romanian style. Incidentally, I have a tour, an architectural tour this Sunday in the Kiselev area, which has the highest concentration of Neo-Romanian style houses synthesized with the Art Deco in this area. These times of slowly getting of fashions. But after 1947, as I said, it's a new regime. People where the political power imposes Stalinist architecture, and then we have Stalinism and completely different kinds. So let's put it that way. Fashions. 1960s come with the detente between East and West, and post-war modernism is quite older age in Bucharest or the seaside, for example, and all over Romania, and then the style is forgotten in the crude national communist era of Ceausescu. When I can say with confidently that we had in Romania North Korean style architecture, especially what they call civic center in Bucharest, which is the area of about 15% of Bucharest surface destroyed by Ceausescu to put up the new parliament building and the huge boulevards and blocks there, which are a copycat what we see in the capital of North Korea. Let's see what I said about the style being political and also economically, from an economic point of view, very expensive. And looking in at some images of Neo-Romanian style houses, I gathered them from my large collection of such photographs from my field work, and I put them on my iPad. And this is what I want to show to you. This is one of the houses. This is in Icoane area. It's basically a palace. You can imagine it's quite expensive to have such house which reflects the national ideology. You have to have a citadel, the house like a citadel, because the Romanians were envisaged as the defenders of Europe. Another house. Look at this one in Cotroceni. Again, practically a palazzo with so many architectural details. And these things, these houses were built in a time of high national confidence after the Great War, when Romania found itself into the victor side against all wars. It was nearly beaten, and then the Central Powers collapsed and found itself on the victor side and double its size and population. And you have, as a result, this kind of houses, and also the economics of them. In the 1920s and before the great crisis, the oil exports, the grains, the big markets of Greater Romania were able to finance this kind of houses. Or this one, for example, in Foișorul de Foc area, 1920s, late 1920s. Look at this kind of ornate case. Usually they were for a single family. Imagine, or this one in the 1920s, Arghir Curina, on the Hristobotev area, a block of flats. Quite rare they are because they are so expensive and so massive. And I say they have to expound the national philosophy, the citadel against the Ottoman Empire, defenders of Europe, and lots of Christian motifs like elements grouped in three, which are the Holy Trinity. This one is in the Robanți area, again full of ornamentation, again single family, again in the Dorobanți area. Now they are multi-family after they were populated by state tenants during the communism and then given back to many of them to the rightful owners, but divided in flats and people living in them. This one in Cotroceni, again very expensive. Or this one in Plantelor area, smaller one. I spoke with the owners. They had initially in the 1920s plans for a house nearly as double as this, but the crisis came and they had to cut their plans. But nevertheless, the house is massive and large, even for a crisis. As I said, the style had to become more economical in order to survive stylistically in the 1930s because of Art Deco fashions and modernist fashions, and also those new fashions were less expensive, and it became a bit more like Art Deco, like in this example in Kiselev, or this one in Cotroceni. It's nearly modernist in a way. But after 1947, basically the style disappears because of this threefold situation. Politics, the nationalism is not in older age anymore because the nationalism endorsed fascism and Romania alliance with the Nazi Germany, fighting against the Allies, the democratic powers, and nationalism was taboo at that time. So stylizes could not go on. Economics, you've seen those houses, how big they were. It's first time in Bucharest history when so many big houses, most of them single family, were built. Never ever since then or before then we had such a number of large houses being built. Maybe now in post-communism, but this one it's an era of high corruption, of stealing from the public money and also from the European Union funds, and building extremely ugly, extraordinary kitschy and unsafe buildings, large ones. But these ones were sound, were comfortable, had aesthetics, although it was lots of politics in them, as I said. That is the difference. So proper architecture, because architecture means also aesthetics, not what is happening nowadays in post-communism. One is a complete kitsch. So we never had this kind of building quality boom in a certain style very peculiar to Romania since the Neo-Romanian era, let's put it that way. The period when the Neo-Romanian style developed itself from 1886 till 1947, especially in the 1920s, the time after the Great War, with this huge national confidence and the money coming from the large market of Greater Romania and the oil exports and agricultural production. So basically, then the third aspect, as I mentioned at the beginning, the fashions. It's not fashionable anymore. People want to be modern. Then communism came into place with its own kind of fashions. So exactly what Mikhail Gorbachev and Raisa Gorbacheva said, we can't go on living like this. That is basically the demise of the Neo-Romanian style. And I hope that through this I can answer your questions when I am at the tours or receiving emails or messages asking me why is this interesting. Some of you are considering it really beautiful style. Didn't go on. It was too expensive. It was another fashion. Politics were different. As I said, that style is somehow undergoing a bit of a renaissance, but it's mainly on the populist nationalist background of the last few years. And my opinion that is going to fizzle away somehow in the following years, depending on how this political environment in Europe and in the world will evolve. I hope that you found interesting this video. We'll see each other as soon as possible. Thank you and goodbye.